know. I know. I know. I know. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I know the audio was messed up on the last show somehow. Like the volume was very low. And I don't know what I did. The only thing I could think of was that I was doing some work with ChatGPT, and instead of typing, I wanted to dictate, and I had this other like headset with a microphone built in, which plugs in through like USB, and I plugged that in, and I was using it with ChatGPT to talk because it's easier than typing. And I remember some boxes popping up on my computer. And I think I fiddled with something, and that goofed up my OBS, and it changed all my levels, and I knew something was not right because I wasn't like hearing myself when I was recording, but everything was like moving. So I don't I don't think I fixed it because I don't know what I did. But I did a little test record. It looked like it was recording a little bit better. So hopefully this all pans out. You can hear me okay. But hey, welcome to the show. My name is Michael. I am a woman's photographer from New Jersey. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of women through the course of my career, and we have this little show to answer questions about women's photography, because as we discuss every week, it's a minefield out there. You think you're going in for a cute little wedding gift, and boom, you walk out crying because you just had to listen to an hour and a half of empowerment talk and speeches about someone who's going to rebuild you. So it's not that simple. So what we do here is every week answer a question about women's photography, so that way you have the knowledge to make smart decisions. You know the questions to ask, you know what to look for, so that way when you go in for your cute anniversary gift, you have no unexpected surprises, and you walk out the door going, you know what, glad I did that, great time, had a lot of fun, these are pictures I'm going to be enjoying for years to come. And it turns out being a positive experience for you. So that's what we want. And after hearing the horror stories for the past 10 years plus from women who wandered into these weird photographer situations, I started to put a lot of information out there for women to what to look out for. Because you wouldn't think it's a weird boudoir universe out there just from the outside. But on the inside, it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird. So meet here every week or so, pretty good with the weekly, to answer a question every week and to chat about stuff regarding boudoir photography, women's photography. And so here we is again. Again, I just sat down a few minutes ago, doing a lot of running around because I've been busy a couple days. I guess by the time you're listening to this, it's going to be Easter. So this week, I don't know what happened. We've been doing a mass throw out here, and I can't find an Easter basket in, the grass. I couldn't find it anywhere. I didn't remember throwing it out. I wanted to get an Easter basket, so I was buying some chocolates, and I was going out to try to find some new Easter baskets, and I was in the store looking for Easter candy, and they did not have a great selection in the grocery store I go to. So I was like, you know what? An idea popped into my head that there is a candy store like near me, like a mom and pop candy store. They make their own chocolates and stuff like that. And I said, you know what? I have not gone to that store maybe like 10 years. It's probably longer than 10 years. I used to go there, and I used to like make little Easter baskets for my employees. I would, pack everything up, wrap everything up, make these nice little gifts for the people that work for me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to that store. I'm going to buy a bunch of Easter chocolates and candies because I wasn't happy with what I was finding in the grocery store. So I drove over to that store last weekend, and it's just a teeny tiny little store, so you can't go in there without someone noticing you. So I walked in the store, and it's very small, and they have Easter candy set out, all the bunnies and other stuff. So I was just taking it all in at first. Now, I don't want you to take this the wrong way. And I know we talk about value and, there's different levels of stuff, but I went in there and looked for a couple Easter bunnies, and I like chocolate Easter eggs and stuff like that. I couldn't find chocolate Easter eggs like anywhere. And I'm looking on the shelves, and the first thing I see are like little peeps, like those little peeps. There was 4 of them in a little plastic bag. It was like $8 or so. I was like looking at another one, thinking that's maybe the wrong price. And I'm like, no, so $8 for 4 little, and then on to the chocolates. I saw the bunnies and all these bunnies, and I kind of went smaller to regular, I call it regular size. And so I was looking at what you'd consider regular size little chocolate bunny. It's like 20 something dollars. And the bigger ones were in the 30s. And I'm not talking like this. I'm just talking like a little bit bigger. In the 40s. I saw 60s. And then there were other little tiny boxes of chocolates, 14, 18. And I'm thinking to myself, now I'm not like a price snob, but it could legitimately cost you several $100s in this store to make an Easter basket. And I was like a little bit like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that when I walked into, because you're thinking chocolate, right? And then I'm thinking, now the prices in the grocery store look good compared to what I'm seeing here, but I still wanted to get something. I like the chocolate, and I don't want to give away. I got to hide the back, but I did get like a little rabbit or two. Now this is maybe 4 inches. It's just maybe 4 inches high, maybe 1.5 inches or so wide. These were like $9 in that store. So I was like, woo, I bought a couple things, but I was like, wow, that's shocking. And my first thought is, what if you have a couple kids and you go in, you'd be like spending hundreds of dollars to just get Easter candy. So I don't know what's going on with the Easter candy. So I have like Easter candy pricing shock. Like this week, I did wind up buying, not happy with what I got, like I said, and I was going to go to another grocery store and I just didn't. I was going to go around because I like the eggs with the strawberry cream and the other Russell Stover. I couldn't find anything good. It's like, and then for the people who are curious, and I was showing this to someone else like 2 weeks ago, and I discovered this, I think, like last year. When you go into the grocery store now and they have candy on the aisles, like Easter bunnies, a lot of that stuff isn't even chocolate anymore. It's just like, it looks like chocolate, and the kids, I think, are gonna, if you don't read the ingredients, it's hydrogenated oil. They sell, and I think it says like, again, like chocolate-like or something, like chocolatey flavor on them. And I'm not going to say the brand, because you could, but point being, you always have to read the label of this stuff. Literally, the first ingredient was like sugar. Number 2, hydrogenated oil. So essentially, what they're selling is a big freaking block of Crisco to hand to some child to eat. So even some of the stuff that's in the grocery store isn't even food. Could you imagine handing your child a can of like Crisco and being like, here you go, just dig into that and eat that? So that's what's out there in the grocery store. So even like the crapification of food has reached down to candy. They won't even give you chocolate anymore. They give you a big block of hydrogenated oil and shape it in the form of an Easter bunny. And you know that there's going to be tons of people who don't read this or know. And I knew right away, because when you taste it, because I made that mistake last year. I bought a couple of these, and I was sitting at my desk working on watching TV, and I took a bite out of one, and I thought it was bad. I thought, because it was like dark, and I thought maybe, I don't know. I just immediately knew something was wrong, because it doesn't have the tech, or it doesn't taste like chocolate. So what the hell was this? And then I was looking at it, and then I flipped it over and I was reading it, and that's how I discovered. And I grabbed a couple others and I was reading this, and I threw them all like away. So there was like families out there across America buying this crap and then giving their children hydrogenated oil bunnies, which aren't even food. But I digress on my little Easter bunny story. So be careful. Just buy chocolate. Maybe not $47 rabbits, but just be careful of what you're buying in the store. It's not easy out there. And then what else was going on this week? Suddenly, I got my spring influx. I must have had 4 people this week alone reaching out to me to do sessions. One woman was traveling, trying to get a date in June. June is like my kind of cutoff time because where I work, it kind of starts to transition to summer. I got a couple of people who want to come in the next 2 weeks. Is there room? Is there time? And going back and forth with texts and phone calls and emails trying to get people. And I think we chatted with this a few weeks ago. Like the spring, people wait to the last moment. Things get kind of busy, and then they're scurrying and try to get in the spring for their weddings or for spring sessions, and it can get very, very busy. So getting hammered. I sent out a few dates. I opened up a few more dates for May for people. I'm going to try to get a few extra people in. I try to get in as many people, as I can fit. But like a couple of years ago, been 2 years, 3 years ago, whatever it was, like the year after, now it's longer. COVID, when the floodgates open, I was like trying to get accommodate many people as I can. I just got overrun. I had too much. I almost couldn't keep up with the amount of work I do. So I try to keep within the limits of my time because I just have like too many people. So I hate like saying I'm busy, but sometimes I have to. I try to accommodate the people though and get them in for spring. So I had a busy week with my inquiries. Hopefully I can accommodate all these people and they can make time in some of the spots I have available because it's fun. I want to get people in. I want to get them some cute gifts and albums. I think I had one woman again who was a creator online, wanted to do some photos for her, again, new account. So it's always a little bit of an education, teaching people how to go through that process. So it was exciting to get a bunch of inquiries this week and looking forward to working with some new people through May. And if you haven't, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should, because the audio was like, well, it's not that bad. But if you haven't, go back. You can listen to last week's show about, do I need to bring my own lingerie to a boudoir shoot? Or do photographers provide that? I don't think there's a photographer out there who doesn't get that question in email multiple times a year. Do I have to bring my own stuff? Do you have a wardrobe outfit? Do you provide outfits? So we talk about that a little bit. Except the audio, my volume is just too low. I'm sorry. I don't know what I did. I don't know, but it gets better as it goes along. At the beginning of the show, you can't hear me. So it makes you appreciate the good shows. So if you have time after you listen to this one, you can roll back and listen to last week's show about, do photographers or should they provide lingerie for their clients? And as usual, I'm going to take a sip of my beverage and we're just going to let the photographers leave. The show is not for you. Sorry. We'll let you leave. We'll give them a few moments to get out of here and we'll let them find their grow their business podcasts and how to make $1 million as a photographer podcast, because this ain't that show. It's not for you. So we'll give them a moment to leave. And I'm feeling very parched now because I did all my exercise in the forest and I wasn't drinking. So now it's hitting me. I'm dehydrated. Okay, so the photographers are gone, thank God. And today, little, again, not lighthearted, but kind of an important topic, but we're not going to get too serious with this. But today we're going to talk about what are a couple things or 2 things I should watch out for when choosing a boudoir photographer. So we're going to talk about 2 things that everybody should be aware of before making their final decision in choosing their photographer. Because as we talk about, there's like a million things that could go wrong. And if you could spot just one, if I could teach you one thing to look out for to keep from making a mistake, then, I consider that a success. So we're going to talk about 2 things that are kind of related, things you should be aware of, things you should be checking out, things you should be asking before you go and book your spring or any other time boudoir session. And this kind of ties into this whole idea again about, you are trusting this photographer with this intimate experience. So you want to make sure you're in good hands. And as we always talk about, it's restaurant, I don't know what I'm saying, kitchen nightmares out there. Don't ever assume that photographers know what they're doing, because you would be sadly mistaken. You always have to be the one that's being vigilant, asking the questions, and sort of figuring this out on your own. Because, we say these people are running restaurants out there, and it's gross. I always use that kitchen nightmares example, as I just said, and you would never suspect or think that now that all restaurants are the same, photographers are not all the same. We don't want you getting food poisoning, going into a restaurant. We don't want you walking away with a super bad experience when going to a women's photographer. So lesson number one is they are not all the same or qualified. So we're going to chat a little bit about two things today, and two important things. And we'll launch into item number one, or thing number one. And that is, takes a little bit of work to kind of figure this one out, but you could do it. I know you can do it because you're all very intelligent people who listen to this show. And thing number one is inconsistent or low quality portfolios. And the one thing that photographers are always going to, they better have on their websites or on their Instagram accounts or their social media accounts, they just posted tons of their pictures. And scrolling. And on their website, there should be galleries, numerous galleries, or at least galleries with multiple photos in them for you to look through. And the point being is that, kind of like, I always liken it to someone playing a guitar. When you start out, you have no idea what you're doing, right? Figuring out, practicing in your bedroom after school. And if you keep going, ultimately gaining some mastery of that, ultimately as a guitar player or anything else, painter, whatever comes to anything like that, you will start to develop kind of your own style and feel and look to your work. It just kind of happens, and it just kind of goes in that route. So what you want to do is always pay attention to the galleries and look for this consistent kind of flow of work. They should all be very similar in the fact that photographers ultimately kind of find that range that they're in. They should look, and the feel should be very, very consistent from photo to photo, from gallery to gallery. Now, I'm not talking about there may be a black and white photo in there, or, I'm just talking about in general. The look from any photographer should be very, very consistent. And also it should be very, very good. And, how do you know what a good picture is from a bad picture? You better do some homework and figure that out. Because unfortunately, there's lots and lots of bad women's photography or women's photos out there in photographers' galleries. And you have to really be able to point out it's, something that looks like it was just a snapshot or something taken on an iPhone versus a well-composed, artful photograph, because that's what you're paying all this money for, is artistry. Boudoir photography is not one of those things where I always see online talk about these wedding photographers. I took 6,000 photos during this wedding, and it's not about taking 700 photos and crossing your fingers that you got lucky 2 or 3 times. That's not intent. It is about artfully and purposefully moving through this session. You should not, as a photographer, be taking 7,000 photos during a boudoir shoot. That is just like spraying. You aim, you were taking out your big gun, you're aiming, controlling your breath, lining things up in your sights, and shooting your target. You're not like spraying all over the place and hoping you hit what you're trying to shoot at. That's just wasteful. So in photography, it's kind of the same thing. Your photographer will be very purposeful. They will be very intentional in the way that they get you set everything up and the number of photos does not matter, because if you're taking 7,000 photos, if 6,995 of them are bad, what the heck is the difference if they've taken 7,000 photos? The number of photos that they take does not matter. You just want good ones in the end. So as things get lined up, everything is intentional, everything is very purposeful. They're going to take the photos, look very cute, go on to the next pose, go on to the next pose, and so on. They're going to make it fun. It's going to be enjoyable, but they're not just blasting away and crossing their fingers. Like some of these like digital cameras now take like 15 photos in a second. You're just like blasting away, and then looking through all these photos, trying to find one that you're not blinking. That's just not artful. It's just luck is what you're counting on there. And then when you're looking through this gallery, it's a real red flag if you notice that photos have a whole different mix of styles. It looks like it may be from different photographers. There's just something not right about it. You want to see consistency in lighting. You want to see consistency in editing, in posing. You'll also see photographers go into these routines, and trust me, there's no need to reinvent the wheel for every single session. You will probably see very similar poses in a photographer's gallery, and that's fine, but you're looking at the overall artful quality of these photos. Do you like bright, cute photos, or is this photographer, some of them are edgier and they do mostly black and white? That doesn't matter, but you want to see consistent excellence through their photos. Very, very, very important. And then when you don't see that, first of all, I don't know why you would be posting that if you're a photographer, if you're all over the place, but that may be a real indication of either maybe somebody is new, they're still learning, or they just are bad. Like, just because someone's been doing something for a long time doesn't mean they're good at it. Again, that's the thing I want to sort of get out there. Well, I've been doing it for 27 years. Doesn't mean you're good at it. It means just somehow you just kept doing it. Maybe someone never told you. But, so time doesn't necessarily dictate proficiency in an art. You would hope they would be artful and good with this. But when you start to see these things that aren't, it could be a sign that this photographer just isn't super skillful, or they're new. And at that point, really, you should be bringing it up. Gee, I noticed if you're talking to them, I'm looking in your galleries, and boy, it looks like some of these photos look this way, some of them look that way, some of them look, how's that happen? Or why do you have so many different looking photos? They don't even look like they were taken from the same person. So you really need to bring this up in the course of your conversation with them, because they're not going to tell you, oh, I just started, or oh, this is only my second week, or oh, they're not going to bring something like that up. So it's for you to investigate and to take a look at these photos and make sure you're taking in the whole gallery, looking through not just those one or two lucky shots that they may have posted all over the website. Look for a good breadth and depth of work there. And then thing number 2 is ask them about their editing, particularly if they're outsourcing their editing. And this has been a thing growing over the past couple of years. They've been doing it in wedding photography. They've been doing it in other types of photography, where the photographers no longer want to put in the time to edit their own photos, cull through their photos. They're paying somebody else to do this, because they're thinking, it's not worth my time. And I don't generally have an issue with this. Maybe if it's a wedding photography or something other that is public. Boudoir photography is something else. Usually it's typically very, very private, right? So, but what happens is, and here's the tricky bit of this, again, the photographers will not tell the clients that they are outsourcing their work or their editing. And what they do is, after your session, they take all the photos and they say, I'm a boss babe. I don't have time to edit these photos. Somebody else is going to do it for me. So they take your private photos, your naked private photos, and they're paying somebody in Indonesia, like on Fiverr, $5 or $10 or $20, and then they're sending all of your private photos to this person, and God only knows who it is, without telling you. And so now your private naked photos are going halfway around the world to somebody else's laptop without you knowing, and some person is editing them and sending them back. And then the photographer is going to present them to you. And they didn't tell you that they were sending your photos to somebody else. Now, when they are on this person's laptop in Indonesia, who knows what happens to them from there? Maybe nothing, but he may go, oh, yeah. And he could be, God only knows what can happen to them from that point. But the whole thing is, this is all happening without your approval, without your knowledge. And they're like, and a lot of these photographers don't even give it a second thought. Now, as I noted, if this is going on in like pet photography or like a wedding, it's something usually that is as private. It may not be as much of a violation. Or if it's a family portrait standing out in the park or something like that, shipping them out to Asia or wherever for someone to edit them and then sending them back, maybe not as big deal, but it's horrifying for women to find out that their very private pictures are being sent around the world without their knowledge or consent, and who knows what can happen to them from there. So it is super, super important to ask about outsourcing when it comes to, because you think, no, these women photographers, they're girl power, they're all about, healing. No, remember, mess, kitchen nightmares, they're not all about that. Nor would they be telling you if they're outsourcing your photos. So I'm looking at you are the one who have to ask these questions up front about, are you outsourcing my photos? Are you sending them around the world to editing? Because they won't tell you. They're not going to tell you. And then your privacy at risk when somebody else has access to your intimate photos. And this also relates to point number one when we were talking about inconsistency in a gallery, is that could also be a tip-off that a lot of outsourcing is happening, because when that photographer is taking your unedited photos, they could be hiring a different person each and every time to work on these. So every person that's doing the editing is going to have a little bit of a different kind of idea of what looks good to them, because it's kind of a personal thing. As we talk about, there's not one right answer. They may say, oh, do it like this or do it like that, but everybody's going to have a little bit of a different idea how to crop something, how to shades over contrast, and so forth. So what that essentially leads to is a bunch of inconsistent looking photos, because it's all being done by a bunch of different people. True, the photographer is taking the picture, but all the work is being done by lots of different people afterwards. And if you've ever seen one of those situations where photographers would do this and like, I took a photo, the same photo, and I sent it to 14 of my friends to edit them, and I wanted to see what they'd all do, and every photo looks like kind of different when they get them back. So it's very similar to that. And what you may find is these galleries, if they look all different, it could be a cue to you or clue that they may be outsourcing the editing of their photos. So if you see a lot of different types of looks, I'm not saying it is, but it's a possibility. Otherwise, they're just very inconsistent photographers, which is not great either, because you don't know what you're going to get back from them. And so what I always really want people to do now, and one of the questions is ask any photographer about their editing right over the phone, or ask them or in the email, do you edit your own photos? And if it's like, well, no, or you could even be more blunt and say, are you outsourcing your photos? And if they say yes, probably wouldn't be my choice of going to a photographer like who does that. So it's two things that kind of tie together. Both of them are really not great. I wouldn't say they're full red flags. There could always be explanations for things, but those are two things really to look out for when choosing your photographer. And again, that is inconsistent or low quality or widely different kind of photos in the gallery. And thing number two, of course, is the outsourcing of editing from women's photographers. So those are two things today I want everybody to be aware of and important to ask or to check in with the photographers online galleries or on their website or wherever they're doing. Look for consistency there. And this just really drives home what we want to talk about on this program, is that how shouldn't be this way, but how important it is for the client to do their homework before selecting their photographer. You have to ask so many questions to a boudoir photographer. We only touched on two things. I'm talking about experience and how long they've been doing this. There's a ton of questions. You really need to interrogate these photographers in a nice way, because it's not like just because someone calls themselves a pro, it means they're good or they know what they're doing or they have privacy or policies or anything else like that. It's just anybody can call themselves a pro woman's photographer. It doesn't mean they have any experience or technical ability or anything else. Now, I don't want to make it sound that that's the case for everybody. I certainly know really great photographers who put in the time and the energy and have great experiences for their clients. But for every one of those, there's got to be 5 to 10 who are just missing all or part of these things that I would consider make up a good woman's photographer. They're just really lacking in many, many areas. And then the clients find this out not till the end, and they're throwing money away. They have a bad experience, and it shouldn't be that way. So you have to go ahead and do a lot of this work on your part. Ask a lot of questions. Don't feel bad about it. You can listen to previous episodes of this show or go into my blog. There's tons of articles about what you should look out for when going out and booking your photographer. It's important during spring. This is a busier time of year, so that's why I like to get these messages and this information out now, so you can use it, especially if you're getting married this spring or looking to do a session this spring, so you can make a good decision and have a good time with your photographer. So that's what I got for you this week. Hopefully that was useful, important information, and think about it a little bit, and just want everybody to have a good time. Walk away with smiles. I hate to hear those horror stories. And as usual, like I said, if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And reach me on my website is the easiest way with any questions you may have. And now I get a sneaky 1 or 2 a month, like, questions back. Hey, can you check out this photographer? What do you think? And what do you think about that? And I'm not saying, you're a secret safe with me. I'm not going to say anything to anybody else. But it's interesting how this word starts to get out, and I'm glad women are taking this to heart and being a little bit more aware of what they have to. And if you want me to check, I want to say, don't type it in my AI chat, because that's not me. It's just a bot on my website. So that bot cannot go out and like investigate or give you information. There's like an AI chat I have. Don't do it there. Just email me. That way I can get it and I can go ahead and respond to you. There was a couple people typing it in on my chat on my website. Just don't do that. Just email it out to me. But I'm glad this message is getting through to people. It's great that people are taking these steps now to make sure they're being a little bit more vigilant. I'm glad we're educating people about women's photography, and it's a good first step. We just need to get this word out there so that people won't wander into these landmine type situations. And that's the point of this whole show. So thanks everybody for this week. I'm going to stop talking now, and I don't think I have much to do. I'm making little pizzas for dinner today. It got warm. It's sunny outside, so spring may finally be arriving. I think I'm just going to take off the rest of this day, relax, make some pizzas for dinner. I don't think I'm doing anything particular tonight. I think I have a few client conversations or phone calls, and that's it. But I'll be back next week. So I want to thank everybody. Thanks for listening. See you next time, and bye-bye. Bye. Bye. Happy Easter.